Hello everyone, welcome back. Today here we are with a new topic from Unit 1 of Paper 2, that is Psychology, and the topic that we are going to discuss is Greek heritage, and this is under the Unit 1, as I have already mentioned, and the subunit is Western influence. So under Western influence we will study many other topics, but out of those Greek heritage is one of the topics. So let's start then. So the Greek heritage, or the time period when Greek philosophy actually started and spread, is also known as the Hellenic period. And this period started from 600 BC to 322 BC. So this is the time period of Hellenic period or the Greek philosophy. And this is also known as the pre-scientific psychology. Okay, and Greek philosophy is also known as Greek naturalism and also cosmological period. And why Greek naturalism? Because Greek philosophers were mostly concerned with the nature of universe, okay, how the universe exists and how it operates. So this was the main concern of Greek thinkers. That's why Greek naturalism. And there are certain similarities with modern psychology. And what are those similarities? The Greek philosophy was concerned with the nature of universe. Likewise, modern psychology is concerned with the nature of human. Okay, so this is one point. Another one is that Greek philosophy was concerned with observable universe. So anything which was observable was only in the purview of study or concern and nothing else. Anything which was unobservable was not considered for study. So in the same manner, in today's time, scientific psychology does not just consider unobservable mind or spirit or soul, so to say, but modern psychology emphasizes also on behavior, and behavior which is observable. Why behavior? Because behavior is the observed condition of a person. Okay, that's why behavior which is observable is included in scientific psychology or the modern psychology. In the same manner, Greek philosophers were also concerned with only the observable events in the universe. That's why Greek naturalism emphasized more on mathematics and astronomy, because mathematics and astronomy was helpful in studying the observable universe. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, let's mention some of the notable scientists during that time period. One was Thales, then we had Pythagoras, Heraclitus, Democritus, Hippocrates. Hippocrates, as we all know, is the father of medicine. Then the most notable figures were Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. Now, I often get confused. I used to get confused earlier when I was a school student, not now anymore. So, who was the student of whom? So, I always used to get confused between Plato and Aristotle. I knew that Socrates was the senior most teacher out of these three thinkers, but out of Plato and Aristotle, I always used to get confused regarding whether Plato was the student of Aristotle or Aristotle was the student of Plato. So we need to remember the hierarchy: Socrates, then Plato, and then Aristotle. So Plato was the student of Socrates and Aristotle was the student of Plato. So this is the hierarchy. Okay. And the contribution of Aristotle is considered to be the most important contribution to modern psychology. So we will have to discuss Aristotle's contribution in detail. We will do it in this video itself in the later part. Let's quickly go through the overview of Greek heritage. Now, how did Greek naturalism break down? It came to an end with the death of Aristotle, and also due to the conquest of Persia, Persia as in modern day Iran, then India and Egypt by Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great, as we all know, was a Greek emperor who went for conquering many countries. So then the focus shifted to just conquests. That's why Greek naturalism came to a halt. Then after Aristotle, four schools of different thoughts came up. And what are those four schools? Epicureans, Cynics, Skeptics, and Stoics. Okay? And out of these four schools, Epicureans are considered to be the most important to psychology. And then we had another period after the breakdown of Greek naturalism, which was the Renaissance period. It was a scientific movement. Many remarkable events happened during this period. It ushered in the modern era or the scientific era, okay? And the time period was 1400 to 1600 AD. Now let's go through the details of the early philosophers in Greek philosophy that we have. So the first one being Thales, and in 600 BC he gave the scientific explanation of cosmos. And according to him, all things came from water and were ultimately reduced to water. He also predicted about eclipses of the sun. Okay, so this is the overview. Then we have Pythagoras. Pythagoras we all know, हमको इतना तो जनरल नॉलेज है कि पाइथागोरस कौन थे. वो मैथमेटिशियन थे. मैथ्स जब हम कुछ पढ़ते हैं तो वहाँ पे पाइथागोरस का मेंशन तो होता ही है काफ़ी चीज़ों में. So he was a great mathematician and he gave the number theories, and ultimate explanation is found in numbers according to him. Okay, and numbers were the first principles, and according to him entire universe was ordered mathematically. So this was the contribution of Pythagoras. His contribution is much more as compared to the ones mentioned here, but we will stick to just this because this is just an overview of the early philosophers. We just need to know the preliminary details. Then we have Heraclitus, and his first principle was fire. So earlier, as we have seen, that Thales emphasized on water, and here Heraclitus emphasized on fire, and therefore conflict and strife is the father of all things in the universe, because fire is the first principle, and according to him conflict and strife is the father of all things in the universe. He associated fire with these behavioral patterns of human beings of engaging in conflict and strife. Democritus, another philosopher, he gave the principle of atomism, and according to him world is made up of tiny particles called atoms which are constantly in motion. And according to him soul also consisted of atoms, and atoms are different in size, shape, angularity, etc., and interact with each other. Memory, perception, etc. are also a result of this interaction. He was the first Greek philosopher to provide a scientific explanation of sensation. Okay, this is an important point here. So, who gave a scientific explanation of sensation? Who was the first Greek philosopher? He was Democritus. All sensations involve some immediate contact. He also denied dualism and opined that mind and body are not distinct. So according to him, mind and body are the same. So he denied dualistic approach. He was against dualism and he opined that mind and body are not distinct but one. Then we have Hippocrates. Hippocrates theorized that personality traits and human behaviors are based on four separate temperaments associated with four fluids or humors of the body. We have already studied about Hippocrates in our personality chapters, isn't it? When we studied our NCERT books and when we studied about personality in general, the theories of personality. So we have studied already about Hippocrates' personality theory. Let's go through this once again. So what is the choleric temperament? Yellow bile from the liver. Melancholic temperament, black bile from the kidneys. Sanguine temperament, red blood from the heart, and phlegmatic temperament. And later, the influential Greek physician and philosopher Galen built on Hippocrates' theory, and he suggested that both diseases and personality differences could be explained by imbalances in the humors, and that each person exhibits one of the four temperaments. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कैसे कैसे बिहेवियरल पैटर्न बोला गया है इन सारे टेम्परामेंट के बेसिस पर. सो द कॉलरिक पर्सन इज पैशनेट, एम्बिशियस एंड bold, and the melancholic person is reserved, anxious, and unhappy. The sanguine person is joyful, eager, and optimistic, and the phlegmatic person is calm, reliable, and thoughtful. Now let's come to the main part of this discussion. We will go through the contribution of each of the three great Greek thinkers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So first, let's start with Socrates, the time period being 469 to 399 BC. And we infer about the views of Socrates from his dialogues recorded by his pupil, Plato. So जो record किया गया था, according to Plato, तो उसके बेसिस पे हम बोल सकते हैं कि सोक्रेटिस के क्या व्यूज थे. So these are some of the views that there was a genuine rational power within human beings, and these powers pointed human beings not only towards correct ways but to moral realities and socially right living, which if needed one could test for itself also. So उनके मुताबिक everyone has got genuine rational power, okay? और ये पावर उनको क्या करते हैं, सही डायरेक्शन में जाने के लिए गाइड करती है. So not only towards correct ways but to moral realities also. So this is quite similar to Rogers' viewpoint, isn't it? That all humans are essentially good and rational. कुछ ऐसा लग रहा है ये statement. Then we come to the next point. He is regarded as one of the first social scientists. He was concerned with political behavior, economics, ethics, and aesthetics. So उनको one of the first social scientists क्यों कहा गया है? क्योंकि he was concerned with political behavior, economics, ethics, and aesthetics. All the important social science subject matter he was actually concerned with. That's why he is also considered as one of the first social scientists. And he talked about psyche, which means soul or spirit. उन्होंने psyche के बारे में बात किया है, जिसको हम बोल सकते हैं soul या spirit. And his method was known as conversational critical method. जो उनका method था उसको हम क्या बोल सकते हैं, conversational critical method, जिसमें conversation involved हो और सारी चीज़ों का क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस भी उस कन्वर्सेशन में शामिल हो. तो उस मेथड को क्या कहा गया है, कन्वर्सेशनल क्रिटिकल मेथड. Now let's come to Plato's contribution, the time period again here 427 to 327 BC, and I hope I have not actually typed it wrongly. I hope it's correct. I'll have to check. Somehow I have a doubt regarding this date. I'll check and let you know in the comment section. Okay, so Plato, he gave the theory of ideas and he was a dualist. That means उनके मुताबिक mind and body दो अलग है, और उसके अलावा उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि ideas और matter ये दोनों चीज़ें separate है. तो इसीलिए इनको कहा गया है dualist. तो ideas का मतलब क्या है, ideas means the form, और matter में क्या है, the content, और ideas are formulas or patterns, and idea was the basic reality. So these are all philosophical discussions, and I don't think we need to go deeper into all this philosophical knowledge out here. We just need to be concerned with the facts And as we all know, we should put more emphasis on Aristotle's contribution. So we can just go over these points in a very rough manner. So idea was the basic reality. And what are some of the features of idea? That ideas are changeless. Ideas easily change नहीं होते, or ideas are perfect. And then ideas are timeless. Also, ideas are distinct from matter. ये तो हमने already यहाँ mention कर ही दिया है that ideas are forms but matter is the content. इसीलिए distinct from matter. Ideas are distinct from matter. Now his concept of psyche included at least three things. उनके मुताबिक psyche includes three things, and what are those three things? Moral qualities of man, thinking, and behavioral sources of many types of activity or behavior. Moral qualities of man, as in the capacity of a person to actually distinguish between sin and virtue, and then thinking, the act of analyzing. Then we have the behavioral sources of many types of activity or behavior. Behavioral sources is in the stimulus which leads to a behavior or an activity. So ये सब किसमें शामिल है? The word or the concept of psyche. Another viewpoint, soul is considered as immortal and immaterial. So उनका जो रुख था थोड़ा सा spiritual था. Unlike other Greek philosophers, so soul is considered as immortal and immaterial. Doctrine of reminiscence, उनका और एक contribution था doctrine of reminiscence, and according to doctrine of reminiscence, knowledge existed in the soul prior to any actual experience. So उनके मुताबिक हमारे soul में knowledge पहले से होता है, रहता है. Okay, we don't gain knowledge only through any actual experience, but our soul consists of this set of knowledge or this store of knowledge prior to any actual experience. Now let's come to the contribution by Aristotle, that time period being 384 to 322 BC. And as I have highlighted here, he is also known as the father of all psychology. So father of modern psychology तो हम जानते हैं Wilhelm Wundt, लेकिन Aristotle is considered as the father of all psychology, and he is considered as the first real psychologist and had a natural way of describing psychological events. He had a great impact on modern psychology, and two works can be mentioned here regarding psychology. One is the De Anima, concerning the psyche or the soul, and it's a systematic work. And another work was the Parva Naturalia, and this is a series of essays on a variety of both psychological and biological subjects. Contains accounts of youth and old age, of walking, sleeping, and dreaming, and also of the processes of remembering and recollection, and of the psychology of men and women. तो ये सारे एलिमेंट्स हैं जो पर्वा नेचुरलिया उनका एक सीरीज़ है एसेस का, उनमें शामिल है. And he was born in Asia Minor, and he stayed with Plato at the academy in Athens. So जो उनका academy था, academy in Athens में वो प्लेटो के साथ रहते थे. और Aristotle was also the tutor of Alexander the Great. So अभी देखते हैं उनका काम, his work, metaphysical position. Okay, हम इसको जो उनका contribution है इसको हम इस हेडिंग में कैटेगराइज करके हम समझ सकते हैं. एक है द मेटाफिजिकल पोजिशन. थिंग्स वर मेड अप ऑफ मैटर एंड फॉर्म, दीज वर इंसेपरेबल. तो उनके मुताबिक थिंग्स वर मेड अप ऑफ मैटर एंड फॉर्म, दीज वर इंसेपरेबल. लेकिन प्लेटो ने हमें क्या कहा है कि मैटर एंड फॉर्म अलग अलग चीज़ें हैं. लेकिन अकॉर्डिंग टू एरिस्टोटल, matter and forms are inseparable, and it is only through form that the potentialities inherent in matter could be actualized. सो मैटर में जो पोटेंशियलिटीज़ है वो फॉर्म के द्वारा एक्चुअलाइज कर सकते हैं. फॉर्म मेक्स अस ह्यूमंस एंड डिस्टिंक्ट फ्रॉम एनिमल्स, बट मैटर मेड अस द पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल्स दैट वी आर. जैसा कि हमने पहले देखा है दैट फॉर्म क्या है, वो फंक्शन है, और फॉर्म क्या करता है, हमें ह्यूमंस बनाता है और डिस्टिंक्ट करता है किनसे, एनिमल्स से. बट हम ह्यूमंस सारे सेम हैं, लेकिन हमारा इंडिविजुअलिटी अलग अलग है, इंडिविजुअल डिफरेंसेस है. तो वो किस बेसिस पे डिफरेंट है, द मैटर दैट वी पोजेस. सो we all have the human form, but as individuals we are different because our content or our matters are different. Okay, so individual differences है मैटर की वजह से, लेकिन we all are humans. ये हम कह सकते हैं that ये फॉर्म है हमारा. Okay, then we have another point here. All things could be organized hypothetically from pure form to pure matter. तो एक उनका hypothetical organization है जो शुरू होता है प्योर मैटर से प्योर फॉर्म तक. Another work, DNAMA, View on Psychology and its Problems, Senses and Their Objects, etc. So DNAMA जो उनका वर्क है, इस वर्क में क्या शामिल किया गया है, हिज व्यू ऑन साइकोलॉजी एंड इट्स प्रॉब्लम्स, एंड एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे यहाँ पे है सेंसेस एंड देयर ऑब्जेक्ट्स एट्सेट्रा. Another point, system of knowledge in which study of the psyche or soul could be brought into relation with the study of living organisms. Another is, psyche was neither a mental substance nor physical substance. It is the organism's form or function. Organs and tissues were the matter of the organism. So second point को पहले देख लेते हैं. System of knowledge in which study of the psyche or soul could be brought into relation with the study of living organisms. जो उनका DNAMA वर्क है वो एक क्या है, सिस्टम ऑफ नॉलेज है, जिसमें क्या दर्शाया गया है कि स्टडी ऑफ सोल और साइकी, इस स्टडी को हम किसके साथ रिलेट कर सकते हैं, स्टडी ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स के साथ. इन द सेम मैनर वी कैन स्टडी लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स, in the same manner we can study the psyche or the soul. Psyche was neither a mental substance nor physical substance. ये physical या mental दोनों में से कोई भी substance नहीं है, लेकिन ये एक form है या function है. और जो matter है वो क्या है, the tissues and organs that we possess as organism. उसके बाद है hierarchy of psyches. Psyches को उन्होंने hierarchy में categorize किया है. बिल्कुल बॉटम कैटेगरी में है वेजिटेटिव एंड न्यूट्रिटिव फंक्शंस और बायोलॉजिकल फंक्शंस. ठीक है, और नेक्स्ट में क्या है, साइकोलॉजिकल फंक्शन. थर्ड में क्या आता है, मीडिया ऑफ कांटेक्ट. और ये मीडिया ऑफ कांटेक्ट क्या है, ये कनेक्ट करता है किसको, सेंसिंग ऑर्गेनिज्म टू द स्टिमुलस ऑब्जेक्ट. जो आपके सेंसेस को स्टिमुलेट करता है, उस ऑब्जेक्ट को सेंस ऑर्गन के साथ क्या करता है, कौन सा वो वर्ड है जिसको हम बोल सकते हैं जो कनेक्ट करता है, द मीडिया ऑफ कॉन्टैक्ट. सो यहाँ पे एक एग्जांपल दिया गया है कि फॉर साइट एंड हियरिंग एयर वाज द मीडियम ऑफ कॉन्टैक्ट. देन वी हैव कॉमन सेंस in the fourth category, and this is used for coordination of the information coming from different senses at a particular time. So एक ही टाइम में जो different senses आप रिसीव कर रहे हैं, तो उनको कोऑर्डिनेट करने के लिए आपको क्या चाहिए होगा, आपका कॉमन सेंस. Though in today's time I think the meaning of common sense is different from what was given by Aristotle that regarding the phrase common sense. Okay, let's move ahead with another point, the fifth category, which was self-moving. तो उनके मुताबिक humans don't always need an external push, wish or motivation can move a person. So ये थोड़ा सा deep है. उनके according to him, okay, that it is not that humans always move with an external push. किसी ने अगर समझो एक्सटर्नली आपको एक धक्का दिया या फोर्स किया तभी आप मूव करेंगे, नहीं. आपका वो फोर्स कभी अंदर से भी आ सकता है, जिसको हम क्या बोलते हैं, मोटिवेशन. और ये मोटिवेशन किस चीज़ से आती है, एक विश से, कि आप विश करते हैं कि मैं ये करना चाहती हो या मैं ये होना चाहती हो, तो उस विश के मुताबिक यू गेट दिस यू नो फोर्स which is coming from your what to say intrinsically, तो वो भी एक ज़रिया है मूव होने का. सो विश और मोटिवेशन कैन मूव a person. And the highest one, the last one, reasoning, and it is found only in human beings, and the meaning is that through reasoning you know and reflect. और इसके द्वारा क्या होता है, रिफाइनमेंट ऑफ मटेरियल्स ऑब्टेन फ्रॉम सेंसेस. द डिफरेंट materials that you obtain from your senses are refined through your capacity of reasoning. उन्होंने और एक contribution किया था psychology, towards psychology, and that is the laws of association. This is another important category of his work in the field of psychology, so to say. So 3 laws were put forward, and the 3 laws of association were the law of contiguity, the law of similarity, and the law of contrast. और एसोसिएशन तो आपको पता है, बाद में बिहेवियरिज्म से पहले एक स्कूल आया था एसोसिएशनिज्म, जो हाउ डू वी बिहेव और हाउ डू वी रिएक्ट उसका एक व्यू पॉइंट दिया था, दैट वी एसोसिएट बिटवीन थिंग्स. सो वो एसोसिएशन किस बेसिस पे बनता है, अकॉर्डिंग टू एरिस्टोटल, कंटिन्यूटी, सिमिलैरिटी एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट. कंटिन्यूटी एज इन अगर साथ में है दो चीज़ें तो उसके बेसिस पे आप एसोसिएट करोगे दो चीज़ों को, ओके, टुगेदरनेस. फिर सिमिलैरिटी कि दोनों लगभग एक ही जैसे है, तो उसके बेसिस पे भी आप एसोसिएट करोगे दो चीज़ों को. एंड कॉन्ट्रास्ट कि बिल्कुल एक दूसरे के ऑपोजिट है, ओके, उसके बेसिस पे भी हम एसोसिएट करेंगे किसी दूसरे तरह से, लेकिन एक एसोसिएशन तो बनेगा ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कॉन्ट्रास्ट ऑल्सो. सो दीज आर द लॉज ऑफ एसोसिएशन, the laws of contiguity, similarity, and contrast. When we will discuss about associationism, we will go through this in a more detailed manner. If you have any doubt, please ask me. I'll explain this in detail. The video was actually running very long, that's why I have not put any other explanation here. Now, I'll just go through quickly this portion which depicts the decline of Greek heritage. So what happened after the decline of the Greek heritage? 4 schools came up, okay, after the decline of Greek heritage. And what are the 4 schools? One was the Epicureans. See, I have put the photograph here. This is the typed portion, and this pic is taken from the book by A.K. Singh, Systems, okay, the हिस्ट्री ऑफ साइकोलॉजी जो बुक है सिस्टम्स के लिए, जो हमने पढ़ा था हमारे यूजी और पीजी लेवल पे, तो वो वाला बुक है. तो उसका पेज का मैंने ये फ़ोटो डाला है इसमें, तो हम इसको पढ़ते हैं क्विकली. सो द फर्स्ट स्कूल इज एपिक्यूरियंस, and let me tell you that Epicureans' contribution is considered to be the most important when it comes to psychology. So Epicureans, उनका leader कौन था? Epicurus, 341 to 270 BC, and this school emphasized that man's pursuit should be the search for happiness. And achieving happiness meant to avoid pain, and to avoid pain meant withdrawal from the melodies of the outside world. In fact, an active search for pleasure could result in pain when it was withdrawn. Later on, this Epicurean doctrine became important base for Freudian's pleasure principle and principles of reward or reinforcement in the field of लर्निंग. तो दो चीज़ों में इनका फिर हमने इन्फ्लुएंस देखा. एक तो है फ्रॉइड्स प्लेजर प्रिंसिपल, जिसमें हम क्या करते हैं, जो हमें अच्छा लगता है या फिर हमें हैप्पीनेस देगा उसको हम करके ही रहते हैं. सो दैट इज दैट वी वर्क ऑन प्लेजर प्रिंसिपल. सो दिस हैज़ कम फ्रॉम द एपिक्यूरियन फिलोसॉफी. एंड ऑल्सो द रिवॉर्ड और रेइनफोर्समेंट वाला जो एक बेसिस है हमारे बिहेवियर का, जो इन द फील्ड ऑफ लर्निंग इट हैज़ बिन explained by Skinner. So ये भी एपिक्यूरियन फिलोसॉफी से ही आ रहा है. That's why Epicureans' contribution is quite remarkable. Then we have the cynics. And now I know from where did the word cynics, skeptics came from. Okay? कि ये तो roots यहाँ है Greek heritage में. In today's time we also use these words, isn't it? Cynics, skeptics. So cynics का मतलब क्या था? That this school held the view that the society was full of hypocrisy, hate, grief and jealousy. So a very negative viewpoint about the society in general. So that's why it advocated withdrawal from these activities for maintaining peace and mental calm. तो जो कि सोसाइटी में इतने सारे नेगेटिव एलिमेंट्स हैं तो आप अपने आप को विड्रॉ कर लो इन सब चीज़ों से सो दैट यू कैन बी एट peace. So this is the Cynic principle. Then we have the skeptics. So who were the skeptics? The leader of the school was Pyrrho of Elis, 360 to 270 BC, who pointed out that sensory perception alone cannot be fully depended upon. So इनका क्या था कि हम सिर्फ अपने sensory perception के ऊपर डिपेंड नहीं कर सकते. The school did not also fully believe in pure form. तो उनके मुताबिक nothing is pure. Okay, Pyrrho of Elis emphasized that what might be concluded from any particular sensory experience might be wrong in light of later and newer experiences. एक एक्सपीरियंस में अगर आपको कुछ चीज़ परफेक्ट लग रहा है या फिर अच्छा लग रहा है, ऐसा हो सकता है कि नेक्स्ट एक्सपीरियंस से आपका वो बिलीफ टूट जाए और आपको लगे कि नहीं ये तो रॉन्ग था. तो ये है उनका viewpoint. So that's why today's time also we say whenever a person, you know, does not take anything easily, okay, or does not believe something very easily, we say that this person is quite skeptical. So ये skeptic philosophy से आया है. Now we know. Then we have the Stoics, and Stoics were the more widespread philosophy, but the most important one being Epicureans. Okay, so Stoics का मतलब क्या है? That leader, okay, इनका leader था, दो leader थे. Leaders of the school were Epictetus, AD 50 to 120, and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, AD 121 to 180. So this school was in fact founded earlier by Zeno, okay, 333 to 262 BC, and the basic psychology of the school was to accept all the things in a spirit of content. तो अच्छा हो या बुरा हो, हर एक चीज़ को आप full content के साथ या फिर full acceptance और संतुष्टि के साथ accept करो. ये उनका philosophy था. Today we regard Stoic as that person who accepts misfortune without any complaint. ठीक है? So anyone who accepts any misfortune, कुछ जीवन में बुरा हो गया, उसको भी बिना कंप्लेन के एक्सेप्ट करता है जो, उनको हम आज के टाइम में क्या बोलते हैं? स्टोइक. और हर लोग ये नहीं हो पाते हैं. Along with this is the strong belief of determinism that what is to happen will happen. जो होना था वो होगा. ये इनका प्रिंसिपल है. सो ये इनका स्ट्रॉन्ग बिलीफ है. डिटर्मिनिज्म बोलते हैं इसको, कि हम कुछ कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. ये डिटरमाइंड है, जो हमारे साथ होगा या हो गया या हो रहा है, तो ये डिटरमाइंड है ऑलरेडी. सो व्हाट विल हैपन, वो होकर ही रहेगा वो जो होना है. So there was a causal ordering of the world and one must accept his fate as a part of that order. कि सारे चीज़ें एक दूसरे के साथ रिलेटेड है. causal ordering है कि ये चीज़ अगर है तो इसके कारण वो चीज़ भी होगा या हो रहा है. जो हम बोलते हैं कि जो कुछ होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है, तो ये जो एक थॉट है ये भी शायद यहीं से आया होगा. सो देयर वॉज अ कॉजल ऑर्डरिंग ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एंड वन मस्ट एक्सेप्ट हिज फेट एज अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट ऑर्डर. तो हमें अपना फेट मान लेना चाहिए. And of these four schools growing in post-Aristotelian period, the Epicureans probably have the greatest relevance for modern psychology, although the most widespread school was that of the Stoics. So ये मैंने already mention कर ही दिया था आप लोगों को. So thus we come to the end of this topic, and thus one topic from our unit 1 ends here, that is the Greek heritage. We will touch on a new topic tomorrow. Till then, take care. Thank you for watching till the end. Bye bye.